Okay, so we should be hopefully letting people in. Don't see any more participants. All right. Hi, everyone. I think we'll go ahead and get started. So my name is Heather Madar, and I am the chair of the art department, which means that I kind of oversee the art department. I'm also here this afternoon to represent the Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. So I want to say welcome, first of all, to all of you. This is a webinar format, which works a little different than a typical Zoom. We cannot see you, which is a little strange because we're talking to each other, not to you. But you should be able to see us. I think also if you, for questions, if you can either put them in chat or put them in the Q&A function. I'm not sure that you can speak direct. I think the way the webinar works, that's the way that communication has to go. So in any case, welcome. I'm really happy that you're here. It would be nice to see you all in person, but I'm happy that we can at least talk in this way. So what I'd like to do to get us started is we have 4 students here today who are all students that have majors in the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. And they were all they are all also transfer students. So recently they were in the same position you were in. So they're in a really great position to talk to you about their experiences as transfer students. So what I'd like to do to kind of get us started is I'm going to ask each one of the panelists to just briefly introduce themselves to you. And then we have some topics that we can get started discussing. And then also, you know, this is intended to be pretty informal and to be more about what you all want to talk about. So we'll also really kind of have lots of opportunities for question and answers and, you know, discussions of the topics that you would all like to hear about. So if we can get started, panelists, if you could all just briefly introduce yourselves, that would be great.
I'll go ahead first. I'm Clara Hernandez. My major is environmental studies. I transferred from Citrus College, just outside of LA.
Great, thank you. Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Great.
My name is Psalms Palmer, and I am a senior, and I am a music general studies major, and I I transferred from Sacramento City College to the Los Rios Community College District. So.
Great, thanks.
I'm Samantha Siakovich Inshaw. Everybody calls me Sam because it's a little easier. I'm getting my degree in fine arts, and I transferred here 3 semesters ago now from Fresno City College.
Great.
Hello, my name is Carlos Laguin. I am a journalism major. I'm in my hopefully last year here at HSU, and I transferred here from Cerritos College in the LA area.
Great. So I'm going to ask the panelists first, just to kind of get us started talking, to answer a question, which is, what is one piece of advice that you wish you had heard before starting at Humboldt? We want to give that one a, great.
For me personally, it was the articulations with your transcripts, like which classes met with certain articulations with Humboldt State. As a music major, I thought I was, pretty much good on some areas, but since Sacramento City College and Humboldt didn't have certain articulations, that kind of, to me, was a little thing I wish I knew, so that way I could prepare better for it.
For me, I would say wear very comfortable clothing. You'll probably get oily because you'll be, it's very humid. So bring what you need to take care of that, and be ready for rain and heat, because you don't know, the weather changes so much that just be ready for it all. And take so much water with you also.
I'll say something that I wish that I knew before coming up here is that things tend to really slow down, especially if you are jumping from, a bigger city like Sacramento or Los Angeles. When you're not actually doing schoolwork, Arcata itself and the Humboldt region is a very slow-paced town, and it really takes an adjustment to go from a big bustling city to a small town. And that can be a bit of a culture shock, but once you get used to it, it's wonderful up here.
Yeah, I definitely kind of experienced that too. Like Fresno isn't a huge city by California standards. There's like about 500,000 people. But shifting from somewhere else that's just like a slower pace, but also a lot safer in general. Like Fresno has very high crime rates. It's like, wow, here there's actually like, I can leave my tools in the studio and they'll totally be there when I come back the next day. It's with a really delightfully relaxing change to get accustomed to.
So I'm getting some questions in the Q&A about if people are in the right place. So this is the session for any departments in College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. So there was a question specifically about sociology and a question about English and international studies. You are all in the right place. And if you have any questions about if your major is here, just feel free to put it in the Q&A and I'll answer. But yeah, Arts, Humanities, and Social Science, you are in the right place. I've had some questions about psychology and kinesiology, and there was another one as well, social work. Those are all College of Professional Studies, so that is a different webinar. What I will say is that if you want to just hang out on this one, this is really about students giving advice to students, but if you want advice that is major specific, get off this one, go back to, I tried to put this link in the chat, but it will just put me in that webinar, which is not what we want to do. But if you get off this chat, you want the link that goes to, if you're social work, if you're psychology and kinesiology, the link that you want is the one for the College of Professional Studies. LSEE would also be College of Professional Studies as well. All right. Let me just have a look here. I think that I'm not seeing, oh, political science, yes, you are in the right place. Philosophy, you are in the right place. Child development, you also want College of Professional Studies. Anybody else have questions about just if you should be here or not? Again, you're welcome to hang around, but yeah, if you want stuff that's targeted specifically at students in your kind of general area of majors, the other college would be the place that you want. Business is also College of Professional Studies. All right. And film, you are in the right place. Theater, you are in the right place. History, you are in the right place. Criminology and justice studies, you are in the right place. Yes, anthropology, you are also in the right place. Art, yes, welcome. Yes, you are in the right place. Communications, yes. Critical race, gender, sexuality studies, yes. Psychology, yep, your College of Professional Studies. Yeah, and again, we have the students who agreed to be on the panel represent 4 of our departments, but there's actually, I think, 19 different departments represented in College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. But we all have a lot of things in common. And I think the advice that the students have to give will be really relevant to a lot of different majors. Okay, I think I'm just having another quick look at the Q&A, and I think that is everything. So let me just maybe ask our students to tell us about something else, which is, can you talk a little bit about what is the biggest difference that you found between Humboldt and the institution that you transferred from, and thinking specifically about just kind of the transfer student experience and moving from you know, a community college to a 4-year college. What was that experience like, and what is some advice that you can give to students who are in this position right now?
Something I really noticed that was vastly different, like right off the bat, was the level of support, both like academic and personal, that I found going from a community college that was extremely understaffed, and like there was, I think we had like 25,000 students and substantially less like administrative help, but versus coming to Humboldt where like if I had a question, it got answered so quickly. I didn't have to wait a week to hear back for a question about enrolling for a class. And I've always also felt that there's a lot of good information that we get both in emails and in person on resources to take advantage of, whether it's like getting food at the, you know, the Oh Snap food pantry on campus, or the availability of like the CAPS like counseling program. There's a lot of resources, and they're made accessible and just relatively easy to use too, which has been great.
For me personally, it is the level of relationships between you and your professor, whereas you're not really just there in their class. They see you, they know you by name, depending on what you're doing and, you know, whose professor, well, whose class you're in. I like that type of relationship, whereas you can pop in if need be, and you can kind of just get to know each other, and you're not like a number.
Yeah, I gotta say, when I was transferring from my community college to here, it was so much bigger, both physically and, you know, I guess mentally is another way to put it. You know, I thought my campus was big, but Humboldt itself is a massive campus. And when it comes to that jump from community college to a 4-year university, it really is a bit of a jump. You know, there was things that I was doing at my community college that are cakewalk compared to the things that you do here. And at the same time, that challenge is very welcoming. It's very rewarding. It feels like you're not just, which happens sometimes at community college, you're not just running in circles. You're actually making progress. You're moving closer and closer towards your goal, towards your degree, closer to that field that you want to finally break into. And that's something that is just fantastic about this university, is that every time a semester finished, I actually felt like I made significant progress, both as a person and with my grades, with my major, all of it.
For me, what I noticed was different people's ideologies. Here, people are into protecting the environment, more likely to be into nature and social justice, even if their major is, let's just say, physical therapy. And yeah, that's what I noticed, and it's very interesting. Definitely different from my community college.
And so we have a question in the chat. Someone says that they are worried about their upper division research class and that it may be hampered by the library's closure. So I'm wondering if anybody has any, I have some thoughts about that, but if any of our panelists have any thoughts about that, and more broadly, maybe we could turn this into, obviously this is a really weird semester, and I know all of you, you know, also experienced weird semesters, you know, in spring at the institutions you're coming from. And so you probably had an experience with virtual learning, and you may have, I'm sure you have feelings and thoughts about that, and we're all kind of now looking at, you know, what is this semester going to look like, and so maybe we could also, if anybody has thought specifically about the research and the library piece, and wants to talk about that, that'd be great. And we could also more broadly just talk about, you know, does anybody have any advice about I guess, dealing with virtual environments, online classes, self-care during this really difficult time that we're all in?
Uh, oh, go ahead. No, by all means.
Oh, thanks. I don't have library specific info, but something that helped me in the last semester when we kind of had, the mid-semester switch to online was really taking advantage of days where I was in a really good mental place and was able to focus and get a lot of schoolwork done. So trying to, like, whenever possible, work a little bit ahead on your strong days so that you have that flexibility to, like, take a personal care day and be like, hey, I can't focus today. I just need to, care for myself, like whether that's sitting on the beach or whatever. And trying to, because a lot for, especially for those in like the fine art divisions, really being open to pivoting and like experimenting with your art in different ways because of how we have modified, and who knows how much studio time will end up happening. Like I was primarily working in ceramics, and ended up pivoting a lot more towards fiber sculpture because that was something like I could do from home, and it ended up opening up some really cool possibilities. So like even if it can feel like a setback at first, there can definitely be like a big silver lining to having to kind of roll with the punches, so to speak.
Yeah, what I was going to say was similar to that. When you have your good days, definitely make sure that you're doing what you can to work ahead. And of course, when you have your bad days, which are bound to happen, it's okay to take a break, to contact your teachers. They absolutely understand. They're going through the same thing. They're going to have those off days. When it comes to the library, a lot of the library's resources are still available online. I was taking upper division classes last semester, and a lot of my research was done through the website's, virtual catalog, and through its virtual database, looking for articles to use for essays. Um, I understand that checking out books, because I know the library does carry some textbooks, is going to be a bit harder. I think that one you might have to contact the library itself, but a lot of the resources are still available. And when it comes to mental health resources, we have CAPS here on campus, which is just a wonderful organization that you could go in. They have what's called walk-in Wednesdays, which they're still holding virtually. You can just show up, you could talk to someone, you can get it all out, and at the same time they'll offer you advice and help and let you know that you're not alone.
Also, I would say try to be as organized as you can. Try to set up a little space for you for your online classes, get your journals and your tabs and your notebooks ready, and just have it all set up in one area where you feel like will be most comfortable. Like I just got a new chair, and I think it's gonna be a nice, comfortable chair for this semester, and I'm excited. um, Also, yeah, for the self-care, it's very important, at least one day a week or one good section of time, just doing whatever you like to do. Me personally, I really like to travel, so go to a new beach or a new part of the forest and just, have me time. And it definitely keeps me strong throughout the semester.
So I think I would add to just about the library specifically. So in addition to what Carlos said about all the online offerings, and I taught a research seminar last spring, and we pivoted, and there's a wealth of stuff that is available online, and high quality scholarly stuff that you can get through the library. In addition to that, this fall actually the library is going to be mailing stuff. So if you want to check out something, you can do it like virtually, basically by requesting they mail it to you. And even interlibrary loan, they're going to do through mailing. So I think the challenge with that is the planning and ahead part, because you're not going to be able to like run in like last minute and grab something. And so you're going to have to take a couple of steps back in terms of I'm going to have to request it, then leave time for it to get to me. But there are a number of workarounds that the library has been working on to kind of try to support you all as best as they can. So I don't see that we have any additional questions at the moment. So perhaps we could talk a little bit about panelists. Do any of you feel like sharing an example of just kind of a challenging situation or circumstance that you faced when you were at Humboldt? And what were some strategies that you used to deal with that?
For me personally, it was the imposter syndrome, because coming from a, just a community college to a university, for me personally, I felt like I didn't belong here. Like, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? This is way too big for me. Like, who said that I could be a part of this society of college? But how I got over that, even though I still kind of feel sometimes about like that, I talk immensely to my family. I talk to my professors. I even went to CAPS, a few times just to like talk my feelings out. Just honestly, communication is key, and knowing that you are deserving and worthy of being here.
Yeah, last semester I was running one of these student newspapers here on campus. It's called El Leñador. It's one of the only bilingual English-Spanish newspapers in Humboldt County. And trying to run that in the midst of a pandemic is, it's unspeakable about how difficult it was. And during that entire semester, learning how to rely on other people, learning how to rely on the resources here on campus was something that was invaluable to me. And that's something that I can carry over to all of my classes. This is going to be a stressful time. This is something that, you know, is going to continue to stick around most likely for the entire semester. And it's important to realize that you are not alone. That was something that I had trouble learning last semester as I was taking more and more burdens onto myself. And then eventually it got to the point where it was like, oh, I need help. I need to let other people help me. And that was something that just I think everyone needs to remember during this time, is that you need to let other people help you. You need to have moments where you take a step back and say, all right, this is a bit too much. What can I do to, you know, reorganize this so that way I'm not as stressed?
So my challenge last semester was that it's not as relevant to this semester, but for me it was the parking. I couldn't afford it, so I rode the bus all the way from Eureka, but it took so much time since I'm full-time student and I also work at Ross part-time. So I drove to a free parking area, but I had to walk a lot. And after daylight savings, it got really dark and I would feel scared to walk back to my car, but after adapting to it, I just, figured I just had to adapt to it. So yeah, this semester is not, I won't have that issue, but yes.
I saw in the chat somebody was asking about how to like connect with new people, and I haven't touched base yet with the people that I'm leading clubs with, but I know a lot of the clubs are planning to continue in some sort of virtual manner, and there's some that can be socially distant too. Like personally, I just got into bicycling during the pandemic as a way to like get out and get exercise, but I'm hoping to like touch base with that club and see if they're doing any like socially distant kind of rides, because outdoors and being able to stay well over 6 feet apart, you can even cycle like the buffs on and stuff. It's a good way to like get those good exercise endorphins going and potentially meet people that also like being outdoors. So I just say clubs in general, like take advantage of that resource.
So there's a question in chat, and then I want to come back to the question that Sam just answered. So there was a question in the chat about, are we going to get emails for every new case of COVID? I understand wanting to keep everybody informed, but it's pretty triggering, and can I opt out of receiving those emails? So the short answer I have is I am not sure if they are planning to continue to do that. I agree that, you know, I got anxious when I saw those emails, and I think, you know, the institution is trying to balance, you know, being transparent and clear, but at the same time, you know, yeah, it's anxiety inducing. What I can say is I can take that feedback back and pass that on to the Dean of Students office, and to other people in the administration, and, you know, tell them that that's some feedback that students have. The other thing is that it is possible to opt out of receiving the emails, but you might not want to do it opt out, because then you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. But there's a way, if you're getting them through Google, if through Gmail, there's a way that you can go and kind of it's because you're on a listserv. I don't necessarily suggest doing that, because it's a listserv they're using for a whole bunch of different campus information, some of which, you know, you're going to need. But you might want to think about setting up a filter for that, so that all that kind of stuff goes someplace where, you know, you can deal with it when you are, you know, in the mood to deal with it, but you don't have to have it as, like, you know, showing up as a phone note, you know, like that kind of thing, when you might prefer to be thinking about something else. But what I can say is I will certainly take that feedback back and let people know that students are saying that. I'm wondering, we have some more questions from the Q&A. One specific thing, maybe to follow up with what Sam was saying, where can I find out more info on the Bike Club? And then also maybe if any of our other panelists have any thoughts just about, you know, how to recommend meeting new people, certainly within where we're at right now, but also maybe just even in general, you know, as an incoming transfer student, what are some things that you did that were successful to kind of help you find your place here and meet people?
As a music major pre-COVID, just being in ensembles helped me meet new people. Just being in ensembles, you have community members and students combined in those, so you're able to network as well. But with COVID, I still think that we're going to be doing ensembles in a weird type of way. We still don't know, so we still might be able to meet new people, but I'm not sure. I'm still up in the air.
I would say talk to the people in your class. It's so important to get to know the people in your class, partially because it's, you know, people who might also be in your major. You know, you want to know people that are going to be going through the same classes as you, that are going through some of the same experiences as you. It lets you not only bounce ideas off of them, but also gives you people to, you know, connect with, people to be like, hey, like, we're both, say you're both theater majors, or you're both communications majors. It gives you something in common, and it's a great way to, you know, build a connection off of that. If I could, I saw someone put in the Q&A any writing tips that could help. As a journalist, that's all I do, is write. One of the things that worked for me was knowing when my deadline was and working consistently on it. So say you have an essay coming up, make sure that you are constantly doing work on it when you can. Obviously take breaks here and there, but especially this semester with, you know, everything being online in some capacity, or some classes entirely online. Internet fails sometimes. Canvas is great, but Canvas has flaws. And sometimes it lags, sometimes it stutters. Do not wait until that last moment to send in an assignment. Do not wait for that last moment to type up a 3-page essay, only to have it not send at the very last minute. If you're working on it ahead of time, if you are being very diligent with what you're doing, you should be able to get it with more than enough time. And if that's the case, it also gives you time to go back and make edits, make adjustments here and there. So.
I would say get really involved. That is tough to do now, but I'll say last semester I got really involved. Clubs week, I signed up for almost everything because it all seemed interesting. And then after getting so involved, you build community, you meet people, and I would say that there would still be some kind of virtual club week, because I know via Instagram there's still clubs posting things, making little events. That would be a nice way to get involved. and also last semester, or actually last year when I first started, I started volunteering at the Campus Center for Appropriate Technology, also known as CCAT. And I got very involved. I started volunteering. Then the next semester, they actually asked if I wanted to be the outreach coordinator. So I said, sure, I'll go for it. And I got the position and stayed pretty committed. And now I'm the next co-director for the Campus Center for Appropriate Technology. And I'll leave a little info on the chat in case anyone's interested. We are planning to stay very how do you say, involved this semester via Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and our website. So I'll definitely leave that in the chat.
So Carlos gave us a great answer to the question about any writing process tips to help adjust to the increase of workloads. I don't know if any of our other panelists had anything they wanted to add to that. Another question in the Q&A is, and I'm going to if our panelists have any suggestions of what you did that made work or any thoughts about this, virtual spaces like Zoom rooms for study groups to meet in like they might have in the library.
I know that via Canvas, in your individual classes, you can actually have message boards that allow you to communicate with other people within the class. So that's a good way to kind of set up a study group within the classrooms themselves. Outside of that, I know that the university is having virtual hangouts and virtual quads. I don't know if they're specifically for studying law, but there are opportunities here and there to have Zoom meetings with other students.
Yeah, something that one of my classes did last semester, I was in a sculpture class, and aside from our like regular Zooms for the class itself, we ended up having like this bonus like random studio time too, that ended up being a thing where you could opt in to show up. I think it was usually a Sunday afternoon. We actually had a couple over the summer too, because if you're in visual arts, really, it can be very nice just to be able to like work on something while you're bouncing ideas off of your classmates. So that was kind of also a way to connect, but sort of a little bit steady-ish. I don't know.
Same for the music department, especially for theory classes. We would have a virtual meet with our professor and students and just, you know, talk about what we were having trouble with. And then we even had a virtual lobby to where if students wanted to post or talk to each other, they could. So there's that.
So we have a question about accommodations for delayed textbooks since lots more are getting mailed in. And what I would say with that is, and I think one of our panelists kind of referenced the bigger issue earlier as well. My suggestion with that is that be in communication with your faculty. You know, as somebody said, you know, we're all dealing with this stuff right now. So everybody should be really aware and sensitive to the fact that, you know, we've all got a lot going on and that everybody's juggling a lot and, you know, people may be waiting on stuff. If you have any, you know, communicate with your faculty and don't feel shy about like, oh, but, you know, I can't tell them that it's on back order, I'm not going to get it for 3 weeks. Just communicate with your faculty. If you run into any problems, you know, don't hesitate to reach out if that's not working, you know, to the dean of students or someone else like that. But really, I would say my first suggestion would be just, you know, be upfront with your faculty and we all know what's going on. So, you know, we want to work with you. Let's see. There's another question in the Q&A. What are some similarities and differences from classes at a community college and here at HSU, and particularly asking about like difficulty, class size, one-on-one time, et cetera?
I found in general, like the class sizes were smaller than at my community college, and there was a lot more resources in especially in my main studio classes, ceramics and sculpture, like not just the tools that we had to use, but like the ability of like glazes or like silicone and plaster. a lot a lot more resources there. And difficulty wise, I'd say that the pace felt a little bit faster in most of my studio classes. At my old school, the art department was very small and not particularly well funded. So it was kind of considered an easy class where you didn't have to do too much to get an A. Versus here, I feel like the expectation is higher. And for me, that was very motivating to like make even better work and work faster. I'm kind of a workaholic. But yeah, in general, just everything dialed up, like better quality, but higher expectations at the same time.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's like Sam was saying, it's very risk reward, you know. There is a lot more there's a lot more expectation, definitely, especially since you're going to be seeing a lot of the same teachers as you're working towards your major. They're going to know your work ethic. They're going to know what kind of product you were putting in. So if you put something in that's, you know, a little bit less than stellar, a little bit less than what you usually put in, they're going to notice it. There was a time where I fell behind on one of my classes, and my teacher, you know, asked me to stay after the class and just said, "Hey, like, are you okay? Like, your last stuff wasn't as good. Like, you're falling behind a little bit. Do you need help?" Um, which, you know, it's a little scary to get kind of called out like that, but at the same time, the fact that these teachers care enough that they have the time to do that, to actually make sure that you're the one, you know, doing your best, that you are doing what you can, and if you need help, they reach out. That's something that is a huge jump from most community colleges. I know the community college I went to, Cerritos, it was fantastic, and I liked the teachers there, but I don't think any of the teachers ever really recognized me outside of their classes. Here, when you're walking along the quad, if you see a teacher, they'll notice you, they'll say hi. They actually remember you even after you're out of their class.
And also, I felt the same way, scared that since it's a university that it'll be stricter, harder, maybe the professors will be meaner, but actually it almost seems like they're nicer and more caring, like Carlos was saying. And the class size, some of my community college classes were actually bigger than these classes here. And it's almost just as simple, because in my community college we use Canvas also, so that's another plus for me, that it was just as easy to hop on Canvas. But yeah, that part I don't think anyone should stress about, because it is pretty friendly and welcoming, and you shouldn't be intimidated by it. But I was too at first, definitely.
So I'm noticing that there's a hand up in the participants. So I'm going to click, I think, Braylon, I'm going to click allow to talk if you want to have a question that you want to ask. Oh, actually, I think that person put their hand down. Okay. So in that case, Sam, you may know the answer to this because I actually don't. It's ceramic specific, but there's a question. Do you know if CR will be firing their wood kiln this semester? If so, are HSU students still welcome to pop a few pieces into the kiln?
I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I would ask the ceramics faculty. Ryan Hurst or Keith Schneider should know that. I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for you about that. So we are actually about just 4 minutes before the panel is over. So maybe just as a way of wrapping up, if I could ask our panelists, well, we have 4 minutes, so maybe a minute or quick response each. Just tell us what's one of your favorite things about HSU, or just, you know, living in Humboldt, the community. You can go as broad or as narrow as you want, your major, whatever you want.
No, you please go ahead.
The people, the campus, just being out in nature, because I'm a really big hiker when I'm not practicing, and just honestly the people and the experiences.
For me, it's I love how the school is trying to be eco-friendly. I love all the vegan options. I am vegan. I love how the students and the school is very active in the community. I love how social justice-y they are, and all the events that they throw. I love it.
Coming from Fresno, I absolutely love the weather here. Instead of it being, 100 and literally 110 outside. When the semester starts, it's like, you know, mid 60s. So if you guys are going to be in the area for your first semester here, get out, see all the beaches, hike the trails. Like if you like bicycling, bicycle up all those roads, just soak it in and enjoy it.
Yeah, I would say one of the best things about coming up here was that I feel like I'm making a difference by being up here. Uh, Both of the student newspapers up here are heavily involved in the community, and the one that I was working on last semester, the one that I was running, El Leñador, is very social justice heavy. They're very big on covering events and making sure that underrepresented groups here in the county have that representation. Um, and the Lumberjack does a fantastic job of covering the events that happen here on campus and making sure that student voices are heard. So being able to contribute to both of those papers, being able to be in an environment where I'm actually making a difference out in the community, that's something that I've always wanted.
All right, great. I think we just have about 2 minutes left. I think we got a couple of really quick questions we can probably get to. Somebody wants to know what the GWIPY is. You'll see that on your DARs if that's a requirement. The GWIPY is the Graduate Writing Placement Exam. Don't worry about it right now. It's basically a formality. It's a writing exam that you have to take. It's a state requirement. It's a CSU requirement. Different campuses do it differently. The way Humboldt does it is you have to take a writing exam before you graduate. There is a website on the GWIPY if you're just interested in knowing what you're in for, but I would not worry too much about it now. It's pretty much a kind of a formality. Also, I think this was for Clara who mentioned the vegan club. Somebody wants to know how to join the vegan club.
Yeah, how about, would you be able to maybe put some info in the chat? Is that allowed? And then I could add them. Let me see.
Something for clubs in general, I think pretty much all the clubs go through OrgSync, O-R-G, I think it's S-Y-N-C, but you should be able to find a list of all active clubs and be able to join.
Great. And
I'm sorry, the vegan club will be active this semester. Just
great.
saying.
And I think I see somebody has a hand up. So maybe since we just have about a minute, this is Sophia, I think. I'm going to press, oh, no. Okay, never mind. All right, so I think we're pretty much out of time, and I don't want to keep you because I know you have another thing that happens at 2:20. But first of all, I want to say just welcome. We're really glad to have you here. One of the best parts about Humboldt is the community and the students, and we're so glad that you came here, whether you are here physically in Humboldt right now or whether you're virtually someplace else, and hopefully we'll all be able to see each other face to face soon. I also want to say a really big thank you to our student panelists for doing a really great job and providing their perspectives and sharing so eloquently and honestly. So I really appreciate their giving their time. So welcome, and hope to see you soon.